Okay, so what could a jazz age superstar, the one famous for dancing in a banana skirt, possibly have in common with a medieval nun who said she spoke directly with God? I mean, on the surface, absolutely nothing. But today, we're going to explore this really surprising link that connects these two incredible women across 8 whole centuries. So, what is it? What's the connection between a mystic from the Middle Ages and an icon from the Roaring Twenties? Well, the answer, and it's a fascinating one, is all about how they both understood power and how they used the single most powerful tool they had to grab it: their voice.
All right, so let's start by looking at their public identities. The roles the world saw them play on two very, very different stages. And the contrast here is, well, it's huge. On one side, you've got Hildegard of Bingen, a 12th century abbess. Her power? It was all rooted in the divine. Then you have Josephine Baker, a 20th century entertainer, whose influence came from being a global celebrity. One spoke for God, the other absolutely captivated the world. So let's start with Josephine Baker. Just picture it. Paris in the Roaring Twenties. She was an icon, the Black Venus, and get this, the highest paid entertainer in all of Europe. That infamous banana skirt dance? It was a total sensation, and a bit of a scandal, which of course made her one of the most talked about women on the planet.
Now let's rewind about 800 years and meet Hildegard of Bingen. She was known as the Sibyl of the Rhine, and her influence was just immense. From the time she was a little girl, she said she received visions and heard the voice of God. And in her time, that claim didn't just make her a holy woman, it made her a really formidable political and spiritual authority.
Okay, but this is where their stories start to overlap. Both women used these very public personas, the performer and the prophet, as the perfect cover for a kind of secret mission. They literally turned their voice into a weapon.
So when World War II explodes across Europe, Josephine Baker's stage becomes a battlefield. She doesn't run away, she fights back, becoming a spy for the French resistance. And she was no mere symbol. As one intelligence officer put it, the Allied effort would have been quite helpless without her.
So how in the world does a dancer become a secret agent? Well, her fame was the perfect disguise. She could just waltz into embassy parties, mingle with high-ranking officials, and they never suspected that this glamorous star was hanging on their every word. She'd then pass on their secrets, sometimes in invisible ink on her sheet music, or even on little notes she'd pin right inside her bra.
Now, Hildegard's weapon wasn't celebrity, it was divinity. By claiming her words came straight from God, it's like she wasn't just speaking for him, she was effectively speaking as him. For a woman in the 12th century, this gave her a staggering, almost untouchable level of authority. And this whole idea was at the heart of her worldview. Scholars actually call it her the ology of sound. She believed that her voice, her music, her words, they weren't just expressions of faith. No, they were extensions of God's own redemptive power. They were sacramental, powerful enough to influence popes, emperors, and the whole course of history. Okay, so it's one thing to have this secret power, but how did they actually use it? How did they take that influence from behind the scenes and bring it onto the world stage to make real, actual change? For Josephine, serving in the war was a total turning point. The spy became an activist. That same incredible courage she used to fight the Nazis, she then channeled into the fight for civil rights. By 1963, she wasn't just a performer anymore. She was a decorated war hero, standing right there in her uniform beside Martin Luther King Jr. at the March on Washington.
Hildegard's path was, just as strategic. She didn't just stay cooped up in her convent. She systematically built her influence, step by step. First, she wrote down all her visions. Then, she composed music to give them sound. From there, she did something truly radical. She went on public preaching tours, which was unheard of for a woman. And she wrote directly to the most powerful men in Europe, advising them, and sometimes even challenging them.
So, what's the takeaway? Well, both of these women, separated by 800 years, teach us a remarkably similar lesson about what true influence really looks like. Josephine Baker got it. She understood her fame was like a currency, and she knew exactly how to spend it. She literally transformed her celebrity from just a tool for entertainment into a powerful instrument for justice, first for espionage and then for civil rights. She saw the power she held, and she just went for it. And Hildegard did the exact same thing, just with divine authority. When powerful church officials tried to silence her and her nuns, she did not back down. She fought back. using her connection to God as both her shield and her sword, calling herself a female warrior fighting injustice.
So, in the end, yeah, the superstar and the saint, maybe they weren't so different after all. They both understood that a voice, whether it's amplified by a microphone or by divine faith, is a tool. They show us that power isn't just about your title or position, it's about finding the source of your authority and having the courage to use it. It kind of leaves us with a question, right? What's your voice and how are you going to use it?